Since the group stages of Valorant Champs 2023 has ended, I wanted to talk about 5 things that I took away from those matchups. And one of the first things I want to talk about is the top contenders, which I believe are Fnatic, PRX, and DRX. Yes, I know. DRX has a long history of playing balls to the wall during the group stages and then coming up short in playoffs. It still doesn't mean that they aren't top contenders, but nonetheless, Fnatic manhandled their group, basically had no real challengers, and they were making it look easy. Bilibili did have slight momentum on the second map, but they were able to overcome that as well. And I have a lot of faith in PRX being top contenders against Fnatic. I am a little bit nervous of them running double duelists just because there's so much data out there on double duelists and how to counter that kind of playstyle. But I guess as long as you're clicking heads, it just doesn't matter. So those are my top 3 contenders. I do want to slide in Edward Gaming in there as well. During Tokyo, it was mainly the Smoggy and King show, but now each member of EDG is pulling their own weight and having their own amazing moments as well, which says a lot because Valorant is a team-based game, and if you want to take down the top contenders like Fnatic, it's going to be a team effort. You can't just rely on one player popping off. It has to be a collective team effort to take down another contender, and Edward Gaming is slowly building that momentum to do that, in my opinion. And lastly, I do want to slide in Loud, but specifically Viper Harbor Loud. I just love seeing good Harbor plays. It's a rare thing. I definitely don't see them in my ranked play. And I do understand that Omen Viper is a nice combination too, because it just lurks on top of lurks. It's Lurk City basically. But nonetheless, these are my top 3 contenders, as well as maybe EDG and Loud sneaking their way in there. The second thing I want to mention is that there are no one-team regions out there. This was a narrative that was being really thrust upon mainly on EMEA as being one of the weakest out of the 3 original Valorant regions. A lot of people didn't really include China in there just because it's so new. Even China has 2 teams that made it out of group play. Actually, each region has 2 teams that made it out of group play, which I think is just really healthy for the sport as well. And can we give a moment to just give a round of applause to Foot Esports for finally not playing CSGO in Valorant tournaments and actually using their utilities? It's just a beautiful thing when you have crisp aim and proper utility management. It's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty. And if they're able to keep this up, they can actually make a deep run in Champs 2023, in my opinion. But because of the fact that each region has their own superpowers and potential dark horses, it really puts a lot of pressure on everybody to bring their A game. Because if you don't, then you could just end up like NRG, where you underestimate a team and then just get knocked out. There's a reason why you're facing a certain team in the playoffs, because they were able to beat other top teams as well. And I think out of all the teams here, Bilibili is the weakest, but I'm still going to congratulate them for making it. They have a playstyle that has always been a problem for the core players of NRG. And I also didn't include EG as top contenders, mainly because they did look a little vulnerable against FPX at times. And it does suck that they're on the opposite side of the bracket from Fnatic, because I really wanted to see Calm versus Leo, since their Sovas have been absolutely immaculate. And this leads me to my third point, where it feels like it's North America versus the world. And I don't know how this happened. NA teams have home court advantage and people love to root for an underdog. But we currently live in a reality where Fnatic seems like the good guys and everyone outside of USA is praying for NA's downfall. Which is weird because trash talking and shooting bodies isn't new. I remember Attacking Soul Esports doing something similar to DRX. However, the more I thought about it, the more I think it's because it looks like some NA teams are punching down or coming off as bullies against teams that they should beat anyways. Maybe it would have been different if EDG or some other Chinese team started this beef, but in reality it was 100% unprovoked. It's like seeing an adult dunk on little kids, where it might be a little funny at first, but doing it over and over just becomes sad, where you're picking on a region that hasn't had a chance to fully develop or catch up yet. At least that's how it might look like to others. This all started with Busio probably not articulating his thoughts fully on a podcast. Everyone knows North America League of Legends is in shambles, and there's a chance that something similar could happen in Valorant, especially since NA Valorant gets memed as a region full of competitors who are content creators first and professional players second. When Booster had a chance to clarify things, he decided to double down on his statements, which is a wild thing to do. And when I first saw him do that, I kind of rolled my eyes but laughed at the same time. And this leads me to my fourth point. Even though I think it's safe to say that they are currently the weakest region, they still had a very impressive run during the group stages. FPX was able to take off a lot more rounds than Evil Genius probably suspected. And they also almost took a map off of T1 as well. And the way Bilibili knocked out NRG was very convincing, where they didn't drop a single map to them. And they even took off a lot more rounds during their map 2 matchup against Fnatic. But I don't know if that's because Fnatic was letting off the gas a little bit, or if Bilibili was finding something that hindered Fnatic for a little bit. Nonetheless, China Valorant is here, and I can only see these Chinese teams getting better. And lastly, I had to Google to make sure the writers were still on strike, because whoever's scripting these playoff matches is cooking straight fire. There's a chance that if Evil Genius wants to go to the finals, that they will have to beat every Chinese team to do so. And there's a world where EG could have to play against Edward Gaming and Bilibili multiple times too. Then we have the lock-in finals rematch between Fnatic and Loud, where either teams can win. I just really hope that Loud plays Viper Harbor. It's just a thing of beauty, really. It would be crazy to see Fnatic be knocked to the lower bracket early, but if Fnatic is able to destroy Loud, then it could just send further shockwaves to the other teams that Fnatic is not letting off the gas at all.